Howdy there, folks. How are y'all doing? My name is Rees, and welcome back to our Tekkit 2 Let's Play Adventure series, where me and the channel members did a little cheeky half-episode where we tidied up a bit of the factory. Not all of it. That horrible mess is still there. Maybe we'll clean that up today. But one thing we did do in that video was I told the channel members that when this series wraps up, which might not be in the too distant future, I'm going to change all of the channel member exclusive in-between episodes from channel member only to unlisted. So they won't show up in search results because I don't necessarily want them to show up in search results. I don't think they are the best representation of this series. They really are just kind of in between like work videos where I just, hey, this is a kind of otherwise uninteresting thing I need to do, like build pillars and clean up the wall. Maybe you'll be interested in it. That's what those are. So I don't really want them showing up in search results and sort of, I guess, representing the channel in that way. But once the series is wrapped, I do want to make them available to everyone. So I'm going to set them to unlisted. And if you check the series playlist, they'll be there right in line with where they should be. So if you decide to do a rewatch chronologically, a year from now, let's say, those will just pop in and there'll be new fun little bonus videos that you didn't see before, which could be a good time. But I think I'm going to do that moving forward with kind of any bonus content outside of things that are made explicitly for channel members, like the unnamed channel member podcast. But none of that is relevant to what we're doing here today. I just wanted to announce that, so it's so maybe something to look forward to. One thing we do need to talk about is what's changed in here, kind of before we get started with the episode proper. So first off, all of the items that were on this wall, which were previously moved upstairs, left a giant gaping hole in this wall. So I patched that in. I added some lovely lights all around the side. I finished up with the pillars. I kind of had to reorganize things in here a little bit, so there's no ladder over here anymore. There used to be a ladder for accessing the top there, but we've not used it in ages. And also, are these full? Yeah, that's not surprising. That's not surprising. That means that the Pesu is full. Didn't we break it at one point and it completely emptied? Well, it's refilled again. I think I got rid of the ladder over here too, so basically there's no way down here anymore, although I think you can still go... Wait, was there never a door there? There was never a door there. I'm crazy. This is what I'm thinking of. Down here, there is a door. And there is a ladder. And I think that ladder just leads... Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm talking about. Apparently that is still there. That's not important. None of that is important, okay? What matters is this is all quite a bit tidier. I got rid of this whole system over here, and I built this new diamond generator. And it's kind of modeled on the nodes upstairs. They're slightly more densely packed, which means they're slightly less efficient, but the target was 1 diamond every second. And if we stand here, you'll see there's no diamonds. But then they kind of come in rushes. So every so often you'll get like 2 or 3 of them, and then a beat where there's none, and then a beat where there's several. So I've not averaged it out, but I would have to assume we're getting, once you average out over the course of a minute, probably 60 a minute, or 1 a second. I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is that I have over 100,000 diamonds now, which is great. So if I'm ever low, I can just pluck some out of here. If I'm low on EMC or whatever, I can grab a whole stack of those, no problem. And we can just pipe them in here, get ourselves a little boost. If we come back, and we still have over 100,000 diamonds, so we're fine. So that's great, and I love that. Something else I did was, at least I think I did this in the bonus episode. This might have just been in the last episode, I can't remember. But we have all of our ender chests over here now, including the ender chest full of our various ingots. And I did some more experimentation. I won't say that it rendered the sweetest of fruits. That made no sense. But I did do some experimentation with the provider modules, and I figured some things out that I'd like to touch on here in just a second. But before I do, is that everything? Did I mention that these had different colors? That might have also been in the last proper episode. I'm trying to just remember... Oh, you know what? There's one thing that I can't remember whether or not that it was even in the last partial episode. But I decided to do over here so I can remember what each of these nodes does. I got an invisible item frame, and I placed the item representing what the node is creating inside of it. And did I do that on the aisle with the ores? Yes, I did. It's just kind of harder to see them because they're very small. And actually, sometimes I don't even know what they are. Like, what is that? Is that lead? That could be lead, actually. I guess I know what they are. That's Invar. Yeah. That's nickel. Yeah! That's a skill that is going to get me absolutely nowhere in life. That's... I don't know. Zinc! Oh, man! Okay, and that's weird red alloy that we're making for some reason that we'll probably never need or use. Okay, now I think we're all caught up, and I can kind of share with you what I've been trying to figure out over here. This has been the testing ground, right? This is where we manufacture our copper cables, and as you can see, these are staying stocked right now. The way we have these hooked up is, of course, and this is something that I feel like I did a poor job explaining before, but the way I want to hook all this up is we're going to continue to use things like the item sinks and the quick sort modules in places for transporting between machines on the assembly line. I just think that makes it a lot easier. To get items out of a machine, it would be weird to have a supplier module on there. That's not really the right thing to use, and I feel like just having a quick sort module makes much more sense, and then having a quick sync, or an item sync, I'm sorry, that will just say, hey, if there are any of these objects in the network, send them to me right now. That's kind of what we want, because we want these to always be emptying out as soon as something is produced, and we have a place where we definitively want them stored, that being the black hole unit. So for that kind of a setup, for sort of intra-machine configurations, that makes a lot of sense, and we're going to continue to work like that. But you might have noticed inside of here, while we do have the quicksort module to extract items, it is being supplied with the active supplier module, and that is because we are using the ender chests here to sort of teleport the items down here, but we want that to be perma-storage. We don't want this to constantly be drained all of the time. We only want it to supply items when items are requested, and so for that purpose, I think that the combination of the active supplier module as well as the provider module is the better approach. Getting these set up and working properly, however, was a little bit of a trick. And actually, before I go down there, let me go ahead and grab one so I can sort of show you some of what I learned. Because the last episode was very frustrating, but I did eventually learn some things. The issue is that the documentation for these is not super clear and doesn't really explain a lot. And let me give you a tip here, okay? The provider module is not actually what I wanted. I actually wanted the active supplier module, because the provider module is extremely straightforward. There's no issues with that. You just plop it in there and you're good to go. Do I not have any more active supplier modules? I feel like I should. I don't think I used them all. Where did they all go? There are none inside of here unless I'm like crazy and not seeing them. I suppose they could be in here? I did not use them all. I refuse to believe that. Are they right in front of me? If I type in active, will it highlight them? Yeah, no, there's definitely none inside of either of these chests. Interesting. Concerning. There they all are. Okay, good. I knew they were somewhere. I was using this as a dump chest in the last video because my inventory was getting a little out of hand. Oh, that's important to have. And actually, both of these, and I mean, I don't need those right now. Those are more of a nuisance than anything else. These can be condensed. They don't need to be left in there. Let's get rid of those. Excellent. Let's tuck these away. You know what? Controversial. I'm going to maybe throw the greaves in there. That way, I'll have them with me if I need them, but they're not going to be a burden. And then also, this can be condensed, and the rest of this can be dealt with later. For right now, though. Oh boy. Not sure what that was. That was an odd one, wasn't it? Now, let's actually talk about what I wanted to talk about, which is the active supplier modules and how it's hard to find information about these online. I actually ended up looking up the cables, the supplier cables, and finding a bit of useful information. But most of what we learned last time, I just had to figure out. Okay? So, for example, if you wanted to set this up to summon stone, right? And you put stone in there, and then you set that to infinite, well, that'll summon an infinite amount of stone, which isn't a problem, except, and I didn't figure this out until I was editing the video, these up here have, if you summon infinite stone, it's going to see this as 1, 2, 3, what is this, 9 slots, and it's going to want to fill all 9 slots with stone. That's not how the autocrafter works. The autocrafter looks at the recipe and determines, okay, I need X stacks and Y stacks. So 3 stacks of copper and 6 stacks of rubber. So if you configure this to pull in infinite copper, it's going to pull in enough copper to fill all 9 slots. And the issue we were running into is once these 3 slots are full, it still wanted to call more into these slots, which meant that just standing here, copper was constantly being thrown on the ground because it was summoning it, because it said, okay, well, infinite copper, we want to fill all these slots. Ignore the fact that there's rubber in them. But it gets here, like let's say this slot here is empty right now, right? Like there's technically a rubber there, but... Or actually, I mean, I guess it's just like a placeholder, but it says, hey, I want to put copper there. And then when it gets there, the machine says, no, there's no room for copper. There's only 3 slots for copper. This is for rubber. The machine says, well, I already summoned it, so I guess I'll throw it on the ground. And oh boy, what fun that was, having copper thrown all over the ground and having no clue why. So how do you combat that? Well, there's some other configuration options. I haven't figured out what full does. My assumption is that full... I could be wrong, summons enough to keep an inventory full. How that's different from infinite, I don't know. Okay, I also don't know what partial does. I have no idea. The 2 that I know about, or I guess the 3, are bulk 50, bulk 100, and infinite. So the way that bulk 50 is, oh, and I guess something else I should explain here. You know that whole stone situation where we put 1 stone in there? Well, it's actually a little bit more complicated than that. That's 1 stone, but you can actually configure the exact amount of stone you want, okay? So, in the case of these, remember we want 3 of these to be copper and 6 of them to be rubber, which means what I would do is I would do the 3 copper, and then I would do the 3 stacks of rubber, or the 6 stacks of rubber, I should say. Now we have bulk 50 and bulk 100, and the way that these work, and this took a little bit of figuring out, if you have it set to bulk 50, and you have, let's say, 3 stacks of stone inside of the items to keep stocked, what happens is, after it consumes 1.5 stacks of these items, or 50%, then it summons enough to restock itself. It'll never let itself run lower than 50. Well, it will run lower than 50%, but at that point, it summons enough to get itself filled back up again. Bulk 100 is similar, where after it consumes 100% of its stock, it orders enough to refill it to the exact amount you have set. The issue with using that is it waits until it's 100% empty, and then it summons the stock. At that point, your machine's going to grind to a halt because it has to wait for the items to arrive. I went ahead and set the ones down there to bulk 50. So as soon as half of these stacks are gone, and it would be great if I could demonstrate that, but it's all running very efficiently. This is close. So we're now below half of the rubber. So what should happen is it should summon enough rubber to fill itself up. There's some other quirks with this, though. Notably, 1, you have to have the rubber, which we do, and 2, it seems like other machines on the network summoning rubber... Oh, was this the one we were just looking at? It looks like it might have summoned some. It seems like it can only summon a limited amount, but it'll keep trying until it gets it up to that number, I think is how that works. Again, I'm still trying to figure all of this out, and I'm not entirely sure if I've got it 100% like sorted. Oh, look at that. We just got a restock of something there. You just saw it. So it looks like everything restocked. So it might have waited until it was 50% of rubber and 50% of copper, and then refilled the whole lot. But that's what it looks like. Instead of getting a constant flow of like 1 or 2 items, it waits until it has enough to, or until like 50% is down. And in fact, I guess we can go ahead and test this. So if I take the 6 of these out, and then I take these 2 stacks out, what we should see here now is, because it's down to 50% of those items, we should see an absolute flood of copper and rubber head in here any minute now. Just any second now. Any minute. Okay, what if I take out some more rubber? Then what? Oh, wait, there we go. Okay, hold on. No, wait. That was... I think that went to this machine. What about this machine? This machine's almost empty. This machine's not going to be able to run much longer. Well, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. What matters is that even though it's not working on the sort of schedule I expected, it is technically working. Before I came over here and sabotaged it intentionally, you'll note that ignoring this machine, all of the other ones are staying topped off and they're all staying operational. which is what matters. And I'm kind of curious now, is there something wrong with this one? Oh, I should also note that I set these up to do stacks of 23, because I realized that having a stack of 24, when it can only ever pull 23 at a time, or I'm sorry, 63, when it can only... Let's try that again. I noticed that because there's only ever 63 of any given ingot inside of the chest over there at any given time, it might mess with it trying to summon full 64, so I changed this to 63 just to kind of see what happens. You can see it's set to bulk 50, and yeah, no, this one's empty. What if I just take out all of its rubber? Then what are you going to do? Are you going to do anything? Oh my gosh, there goes the rubber. That's good. But what about the copper, though? I'm so disturbed. Wait. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I thought for sure I had it figured out. Maybe I should just put it on, like, full and see what happens. I found some random comment from 6 years ago where someone explains all of this better than any wiki article I could find. Also, I'm going to throw these back in here now because I'm starting to feel bad. Are all of these other ones working okay? Are they all summoning their copper and staying topped off? Why is this one, the one I decided to mess with? I mean, sure, I messed with it, but it's not like it was working beforehand. I guess I can put it on infinite and kind of show you the nightmare that results from that. Oh, there we go. Is that this machine? I think it was this machine. There you go. That's what you get, and it just keeps trying, because what it's doing is it's got full stacks here, and then it's just trying its best to fill these inventories up, but gosh darn it, you can't. You can't do that. Change that right now. Put that back on bulk 50, and also, I think I got confused at one point and was looking in here instead of... Yeah. Oh, also, yeah, you can see that the copper gets filled up in the pipe itself, which is problematic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of this in here, and it'll empty back out over time. It'll be fine. As I was saying, I found a random comment here that explains all of this much better than any wiki article I was able to track down, so I'm going to read from it directly. This is from Live from Hollywood on Reddit, r/feedthebeast. So the modes are, and I'll open this up and we'll go through them. We can actually clear this out. Partial. So, if you specify 64 items, like that, I suppose. There we go. And you only have 8 items, it will pull the 8 items. If it hits the specified max of 64, 32, etc., it'll stop pulling. How does that... Wait, hold on. I don't even follow that. If you specify 64 and you only have 8, so I guess that means if you specify 64, and then there's only 8 items available on the network, it will pull the 8 items. But when it hits the specified max of 64, it'll stop pulling. Well, surely that's what we want then, right? That makes sense to me. Full. So that's this mode here. It's the same as partial, but will continue pulling until the inventory is completely full. That sounds like it would mess things up, same as infinite, so we probably don't want that on. Ah, infinite. Same as partial, but will never stop pulling for any reason. If items arrive at the inventory, but it is full, they will return to storage. Or, they'll get thrown on the ground, which is a bit of a mess. Now here's where I feel like this commenter's getting it wrong. And they might be right, but on the wikis I was reading, in my research, I kinda got the... not the opposite assumption, but the sort of opposite idea. They say that with bulk 50, if you specify 64, it'll wait until there are 32 available in storage before pulling them. And then for bulk 100, if you specify 64, it'll wait until there are 64 available in storage before pulling them. So that implies that it doesn't wait until this is hit its 50%, so, you know, a stack and a half here. It waits until there's a stack and a half available over here, which under normal conditions there just never will be, you know what I mean? Also, we want to do this. No, stop that. Stop that. There we go. Because there will only ever be 63 in this chest, it will never summon. But it is summoning them, because if we actually have a look inside the machines, they are staying topped off. except for the time I sabotaged one. So, see, that's why I think that maybe the commenter is a little bit confused on bulk 50, bulk 100. That's okay. The documentation is terrible. We're all confused. But based on their comment, and assuming that their assumptions, or their assertions even, about how partial, full, and infinite work, I think that the better thing to do is set them to partial. Partial means that provided there is space in the inventory and space in the supply line, it will summon until it's full. Which, I mean, I liked the idea of how bulk 50 worked in my mind, which is apparently, according to this commenter, at least not how it works. I liked the idea that it would wait until it was halfway empty and then summon enough to fill itself up. But we'll see how partial works. And assuming kind of partial works better for us at keeping all of these topped off. See, what I'd like to see... Well, there we go. That's what I was hoping to see. All of these filled up. Everything filled up. But again, that's going to put a lot more strain in the network because it's going to be constantly summoning things. And my concern with all of this is latency and lag. I don't want the system to be laggy. And if we did fewer, bigger draws as opposed to multiple smaller ones, I thought that might help. But I think what we're learning is that we're just going to have to do a lot of trial and error. Because even this isn't really keeping them filled. I mean, there you go, we got an order. But, like, what prompted that order? I guess, you know, we are kind of limited, by the amount we can extract from here using this provider module all by itself. I don't know if there's any way to... I mean, obviously, items to provide empty for all, which is what we want, because there's only one type of item inside the black hole unit anyway. So there's no reason to really specify exactly what to include. But I'm wondering if we set amounts up. I'm sure that wouldn't matter, no. Well, this appears to be keeping everything stocked, and that's good. That's kind of what we want. Or is it? Because you can build crafting modules, and we've talked about these before. You can also build crafting pipes, I think. I don't know what the difference would be, but the logistics pipe crafting module, to my understanding, I don't know what a crafting byproduct byproduct extraction upgrade. I don't know what that does. That's interesting. A cleanup upgrade I don't understand either. What I do understand is that the crafting module, you can put inside of a pipe, and apparently it crafts things instantaneously. I don't know how that works, and it sounds like it could be a nightmare if we get it wrong. There's also, I'm pretty sure there's a crafting pipe. Yeah, there it is. Same basic idea. Type, active requester plus source. What? Crafts one item at a time, attaches to an automatic crafting table, automatically crafts the item inside when requested, can use a satellite pipe to send inputs elsewhere. Ah, okay. So Logistics Pipes does have a crafting table, as well as a fuzzy crafting table. I don't know what makes it fuzzy, but what I do know is that it exists, therefore it might be necessary. I kind of assumed that the crafting happened inside the pipe, but it does say attaches to an automatic crafting table, which implies there needs to be a table. And the table from Logistics Pipes is called the crafting table. Right, okay, so based on my reading, which could be incorrect, just want to throw that out there, but based on what I'm reading, it looks like it won't automatically create infinitely. It seems like using the Logistics crafting pipe, and I'm just on a wiki here reading and taking everything at face value, it seems like it requires some kind of input, like you need to specify, hey, make this thing. And it doesn't really seem to suggest that it'll do it automatically ad nauseum. Which I could be wrong. And if I am, please comment down below and let me know. And also, if you have any tips for using them, please comment down below and let me know. For right now, though, what I think we're probably going to end up using... Get rid of that. I think we're probably going to stick with these crafting tables. But there is something I want to do. And it's something I kind of talked about. I added these lights here because I want to divide the floor down the middle, and then I want to separate every item that we manufacture into its own little area that can expand infinitely, because I don't want everything to be limited. Right now, we're manufacturing, we've got 2 of these auto workbenches manufacturing gold cables, and it's actually not doing anything right now because I've changed the setup over here where it no longer has a regular old item quicksort module, which I actually need to fix because, like I said, machine-to-machine automation, I think we want to... Well, no. I think we'll probably leave that on there, and then we'll set this over here with an active supplier module. Anyway, I don't want to be limited by, you know, space constraints that I've made for myself. I want to be able to expand if I want to, let's say something like a generator production into its own full line, and have plenty of room around it to expand. I don't want to get ourselves stuck in these really tight spaces, which is what I've done with the factory so far. Trying to plan in advance of how many of something I'll need, like how many of these I'll need, when in reality I just don't know, that's silly. And it's not really the way that I think we want to carry on with the factory, because who knows what else we might automate, and I don't want to be stuck in a position where I can't expand an individual item without completely relocating it and redoing the whole assembly. So what I want to do is create a line right down here, and then I'm going to create individual rows for different items. And I think I might not do that right now, because I'm really concerned about this over here. And I want to get this fixed first. And of course, I once again forgot about this setup over here. I wanted to empty all of the, I guess, like individual metals, so I turned them into diamonds, and then there were too many diamonds, so I changed them into blocks of gold, and now look where we are, with just all of this extra, effectively, just kind of otherwise worthless EMC. Look, what is this? A stack of these? 4 million, almost 5 million apiece? Unbelievable. Okay, there we are. Now I can focus on other things, like dividing this room, and figuring out what to do down below. There is somewhere around here a ladder that leads down, and I used to know where it was based on what was on the wall here, and now I've completely lost sight of it, so we'll need to figure something out there. Oh, oops, I didn't notice this was happening. This must be a result of when I filled in the things upstairs using the mercurial eye. It expanded the walls a little bit too. That's an accident. That's on me. I should have made sure that wasn't happening like an absolute dunce. But I didn't, and it's too late to do anything about it now. So there we go. That's tidied up. Do we get rid of these walkways? Things are going to be a little bit weird and wacky now, aren't they? If we're dissecting the room in such a manner. Do we get rid of the walkways? First off, we leave this open for right now so I don't lose it again. I think we could probably leave that there. I think that's probably okay. And I think we'll probably reuse these. They're very spaced out. I kind of like that. I like having the extra space. We might end up taking up this entire square here with what we're about to do. So let's go ahead and divide the room and kind of take it from there, I guess. Oh, no. Okay, so invisible cables are a very real thing. And a very real problem. If you break cables too fast for whatever reason, you end up with this. There's a cable or something right here that is causing severe issues. So if I sign out and sign back in, and I say sign out, what I mean is leave the world, right? Not really signing out of anything, but okay, so that time it was just a full-on block of marble. That hasn't happened before. Normally this is a problem we've had with logistics pipes. That's concerning, because it raises a whole new world of concerns moving forward. Is excavating anything in that manner going to cause such issues? Only time will tell. Also, I like that it takes me so long to fly over here so that I can then teleport about 14 blocks. But what I need to do is grab... Oh! We're all out of white lamps. We are not all out of white lamps. I think we're probably going to want to... We're going to want to add a teleporter over here at some point. I keep talking about it, and we've just not done it yet. One of these days. Also, when I leave and I come back, I think it's because of the teleporting. This happens. This has nothing to do with the logistics pipe setup. I don't think. I mean, I think it is a glitch in the logistics pipes, but... I think it's unrelated to the previous issues I was having with the copper, or the bronze even. No, it's copper. Just throw all of these in here and they'll sort themselves out. A lot easier than doing it manually. Okay, so there's the division, and there's a machine right in the middle there. We'll deal with that in a second. First, let's go ahead and we're going to grab our handy-dandy precision wrench, which we will need to take down some of those MFEs and things back there. At least I think you need them on the MFE. Now that I think about it, is the MFE even one of the blocks that'll actually break? Hi, nightmare. I forget what a nightmare this place is. Is the Space Center the quickest way to get to the charger? Oh, good gosh, I'm surrounded by crabs, aren't I? So maybe I don't actually need this for these, but it'll be handy. It'll make it go by a lot faster and not taking any risks by doing this. Is there a device that can be used to break these lights a little bit more quickly? Because gosh it if they don't take a long time. Gosh it. Gosh it. Says no one ever in the history of humanity. No one has ever said the phrase, gosh it. So I'm out here, you know, just cutting holes in the ceiling, getting ready to make some new runways, and I realize that this has a light going down the middle, and this has a light going down the middle, and for some reason this one doesn't. And this row has existed for real life months at this point. Nobody said a word. Nobody's noticed. I haven't noticed. No one's commented on it. No one's been bothered by it. But now that I saw it, I literally had to stop doing what I was doing, which was actually, you know, progressing the plot, as they say, and expanding the factory floor basement. I had to stop doing that so I could fix that, because it was going to bother me otherwise. Just thought you'd like to know. If you're someone who did notice that and was either wondering about it or has been bothered by it, take heart, my friends. I too have now noticed and corrected the issue. And now I'm making stacks of white lights. Alright, well this is interesting. So it doesn't, like, evenly split this section here. So you got a little bit of an odd number between this line and this line. That's fine, I can push it all back that way if we need to. We probably don't have enough lines for what I have in mind, but I kind of wanted to just show you what I've got done and what we're going to be doing moving forward. So I did add a middle section here, which historically we haven't had, but since this is all going to be built off of this middle channel now, I thought it might be useful to kind of speed up travel between the different rows, to just have a nice middle section here that's well lit and everything. And I think that what we're going to do is have the machine start in the center and push outward, if that makes sense, and have like a single pipe running down the middle carrying all of the items. And if necessary, power. Some machines do still need power. One thing that I think we will do is, and we've kind of already done this, we don't have any furnaces down here anymore. Everything that we have is macerators, we have extractors, and this down here is a compressor. I was going to say if we have any furnaces, we'll convert those over to red matter, but we don't. Everything's either a compressor, a macerator, or a extractor. And now that I look at it, we've only got 3 powered machines. So I think we'll probably set those up towards the back and then have all of the different crafting machines set up one after the other. I could have made this a lot tighter. We could have done it without having such a large gap in between each row and compressed all this in a lot more tightly, but we're not hurting for space, so it's probably time we fan this thing out a little bit. So here's what I'm doing right now. I am relocating our sticky resin rubber generation station system to over here, and I got to thinking, you know how we're not trying to manufacture an infinite amount of certain items anymore? What if we stopped doing that with assembly line items as well? Do we really need an infinite amount of rubber? Well, near infinite. We're obviously at 2.7 million now, but that's nowhere near filling up this black hole unit, and it's never going to stop running until it runs out. Should we maybe replace this with a large chest of some kind? I've been thinking about doing this for a while now. What if we just went with a regular old obsidian chest? It's expensive, but we have the EMC, and it does hold quite a few items. I'm going to have to do some math here, or I guess I could just Google obsidian chest real quick, and that would probably actually be faster than counting how many lines are in there and trying to determine using basic mathematics. It's 108 slots, and it's completely blast resistant. So now we're going to do some basic rudimentary math anyway. 108 times 64 is 6,912 items. That's probably enough, isn't it? We don't need millions and millions. And once this is full, if it ever does fill up, the machines can stop running. And again, if everything isn't running constantly at full bore all of the time, it might spare some system resources. I'm thinking about doing that. I'm thinking we might do obsidian chests from now on. Controversial. Let me know what you think. I mean, not everything is set in stone, and at any point I could change my mind or kind of reconfigure things. I mean, that's literally what we're doing right now. So, you know, it's a bit up in the air. And also, gosh, I'm going to have to do something now with all of this rubber. So I do have a black hole unit here. Maybe temporarily. We'll kind of relocate this over here to this corner. Plop it down. There we go. And we might do this with all of them. And we can probably wire that into a system where we can kind of summon it wherever we are when we need it. That would be cool and useful. But right now, I'm just thinking this makes more sense than, you know, as opposed to just constantly manufacturing an infinite amount of everything, which is what we started with, but it's just not necessary anymore. All right, and now I have what I think we're going to be using for the entire assembly line kind of setup here. Now, I still need to move both of those, so that this entire bank here will just be dedicated, possibly in the future, to further centrifugal extraction. And then also, we're not getting power? Okay, so I had those turned around backwards, but with that resolved, I think this is probably the system we're going to go with. And we might end up putting the levers back on here so that they stay at their tip-top speed at all times, even when this is full and they're not manufacturing anymore. I just didn't do it yet. But this is kind of what it's going to look like. And again, both of these will be gone. So each row will be dedicated. It's not going to immediately be filled up. We're not going to immediately fill this whole line up here with centrifugal extractors. That would be silly. We don't need to do that. But the idea is that if we needed to, we could. There will be room in the future for expansion, because we have so much room that up until now we've not taken advantage of, and we're finally changing that. So again, each machine is going to be sort of justified to the center, and center aligned if you're so inclined. The way that I've set this up is we're going to, from now on, have power run along this side for machines that need it. We'll have items run along this side for machines that need it, and there will only ever be one pipe coming in and going out. So everything is going to come up here, and then it's going to go out of there and go into here. And I was doing some reading on a wiki here, specifically for the sort of basic mechanics of active and passive requests, and it looks like we might not need to use active supplier modules after all. My assumption, which I now admit was flawed, because I didn't think about it, was that the only way that a regular passive supplier module would work is if you had something constantly forcing items into the network. But that's not the case. Instead, I think the way that it works is if you have something like a quicksort module and then a passive supplier somewhere down the line, it'll automatically accept those items coming out of here. But also, I could be wrong, and maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. The fact is, we've gotten the active suppliers to work, and throughout the course of this recording session at least, which has been over 2.5 hours... Oh, I was going to say it's been working fine, and then I noticed it's not, but then I realized it is, because, yeah, we just moved the configuring, we've moved where rubber is, and there's none in here. Why is there none in, why is it not being extracted? You have a quicksort module, you should be going to here. Oh, does it not, oh, well, hold on, I'm confusion. Item sync, right? And that's what we want. Configured, oh, should it not be default route? I thought it should be default route. I guess that was the issue. There we go. Oh, no, they're just getting sucked out instantly. Maybe default route had nothing to do with it. Are they all going to over here? Is the issue just that it's getting sucked out as soon as they're being made? Oh, well, these aren't going full speed, so that could actually be the reason. I don't know. It kind of feels like maybe having it set as default route was the wrong thing to do. I might be wrong, but it just kind of feels like that was what was preventing it from working. Also, I already had 4 levers in my inventory. I don't know why I went ahead and got 64 more that we didn't need. There we go. So once this chest is full, should that ever occur, these should keep running and be ready to supply more, if it ever gets empty, at a moment's notice, which is exactly what we want. So again, in a setup like this, we're making full use of everything. We have quicksort modules and active suppliers, and we have providers and item sinks. We don't have to pick one set or the other. We're using both. And we're using the item sink and quicksort modules together in harmony to move items from inside of machines to their storage destinations, while also using active suppliers to supply those machines from storage elsewhere. And I think this is going to be the system moving forward. So when we finally set up the copper cable manufacturing again, that is going to use the active supplier modules in conjunction with the supplier module, or the provider module in here, to summon the rubber. But then leaving the machine and going into their own obsidian chest, which I think all of that is still set up over here. So, nope. Where'd copper cables go? It's down here. Down here at the end, right, where we literally just were moments ago. So that's probably going to get moved maybe like right in here. So it'll be right in front of that machine. When that's set up, it's still going to use the the quick sort modules to pull the items out, and the item sync modules to store them in their long-term storage. So one other thing I'm going to do from now on is I'm not going to run, even though it does look really clean to have the pipes underneath, we're going to run them above ground, just like we do on the machines, because when you're troubleshooting, it's so much easier to be able to just very quickly access the inventories and the machines without having to go top to bottom and shuffle around a lot. And granted, that would be reduced, considering a lot of these will have a large gap next to them. But I was thinking that we might use glass to fill in those gaps until we need to add machines there, if we ever do. So for instance, maybe something like that, just as a measure to sort of fill in the empty spaces. And then that way there's not just large holes. But for right now, if I'm not mistaken, based on the time of recording, I'm about to have to go in for a brain mapping, which I'm forced to do every day, so I could keep track of what real Rees is up to in the real world, which would be the case if I were an AI, which I am not. And I'm definitely not experiencing some sort of a rapid onset AI decline a la rampancy, because that's not happening right now. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm a real person, and I think I have to If you folks have any comments on the way that we're moving forward, please let me know before I remodel all of this, because when you come back for the next episode, this is all going to be gone. When you come back next time, what you're going to find I have done is I'm going to have all of the machines laid out in rows, and we're going to carry on from there. We'll finally be done with this great swap that we've been doing in the factory, this great sort of remodel. Oh, I should note, I don't think I mentioned this. I did take down entire swaths of manufacturing. I just moved all those items into here, so like the whole setups are stored inside of here, ready to be moved back over. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set up, probably move these machines over there, and then move the manufacturing of all of this. Kind of boom, boom, boom. We're going to run out of space. We're probably going to have to push that way a bit more. But if you have any thoughts or opinions, comment down below. Let me know if there's anything you want to see in the series moving forward, because once they're done with this, we're going to start adding everything for the high voltage panels, which is going to take up even more space and probably require a lot more work up there. But then after that, then what? What are we going to do next? Comment, let me know what you want to see. Comment, let me know what you're enjoying, what you're not enjoying, what you think you might want to see more of in the future, or immediately. I'm all ears. Not really. I would be very scary looking if I was 100% ear, and I don't think anyone would want to watch these videos. Unless you're really into like body horror, like if you really like the works of H.R. Geiger, then you'd probably enjoy that. But is it H.R. Geiger? Is that his name? Guy, is it H.R.? Is it H.R.? H.P. Lovecraft? He has a racist cat. Well, the cat's probably not racist. He was. Goodness gracious. Thank you folks for watching. God bless you, and I'll see you later. Goodbye!